Hey everyone, my name is Ryan Lutz, and I'm a recent graduate of Cedar Ridge High School. In the fall, I'll be attending UNC to major in computer science. For my time in youth, I've been active all 7 years I've been eligible, from 6th grade to 12th grade, and from those 7 years, I have 7 major points that I want you to take notes on, with one from each year. So go ahead and grab a notebook or your other phone, since I'm assuming you're watching this on a phone, and you just go ahead and open up a notepad or a new page, and we'll go ahead and get started here. So my first thing is I want to introduce you to my friend Zach. He graduated last year, but he and I have been friends since before I was in 6th grade. I love him like a brother, and we always hang out, especially on weekends and stuff, after church. At youth group, when we were both in youth, we always played basketball every week before the group games. So basically, I'd get to church, Zach would already be there, and we would go down to the bottom parking lot and play basketball until Brad came and got us, or brought the rest of the youth group down. At the time, it was a lot of fun, but looking back on it, it really kind of limited my interactions with other youth, because while we were down there shooting hoops, they were upstairs in the fellowship hall, hanging out, enjoying each other's company, telling stories and whatnot. And I really didn't know that I was missing that until this year when Zach wasn't around, and I was able to kind of see it for myself firsthand, and get to be a part of it for a change, instead of just not even knowing it was a thing. I cared more about being good at basketball in Zach's eyes and being liked by him, rather than getting to know the rest of the youth group and having a good time, which is something I really strongly regret about high school. So my first point that I want you to write down is make sure that you try to get to know everyone in youth, so you aren't limited to just a single friend or friend group. The first time I really branched out was after my freshman year of high school on the Miami mission trip. And on that trip, I met my best friends to this day, people I know I can always trust, and I know they'll always be there for me when I need them. That leads me to my second point, which is go on every youth trip that you can. If you're debating whether or not to because you're not sure if it'll be fun, trust me. If other kids are going and Brad is excited, it's going to be a lot of fun. You should just take the leap of faith and go for it, because you never know what you might experience. So this leads me to mission trips. Prior to Miami, I had only been on one mission trip, which was to Kentucky after 6th grade, when we used to work with Kentucky Heartland Outreach. I mostly hung out with Zach on that trip, and we played basketball a lot, much like youth group every week. But my second one was Miami, like I said, in 2017. It was on that trip that I realized what it's truly like to be on a youth trip. I was also able to see the amazing ways you can experience God, ways you never imagined or even could think possible. For example, on that trip to Miami, I hadn't played soccer since before my 7th grade year, so around that same time as my first mission trip. But yet, I found myself under an overhang playing with, upper elementary school kids, and just being able to perform soccer moves I had never even dreamed of doing. And it was just the coolest thing, because they were impressed by it, and I was like, I don't know how I'm able to do this, and the answer came to me. It was just God. I also grew closer to the people that I hung out with on the trip, including a few people who are still people I consider to be my best friends to this day. And since then, I've never missed a mission trip, because they are that much fun. Also prior to Miami, I'd only been on one beach retreat, which was the year before, when I was in 9th grade. The beach retreats are amazing, and the mountain retreats are too, now that we're alternating, I think. But anyway, the beginning of school is really hectic, as I'm sure everyone knows, but it's nice to take a break a few weeks in to, gather yourself, gather your thoughts, get mentally prepared for the rest of the semester, and just enjoy an experience that is almost like the last little bit of summer. Like, as when you go off, once after the beach retreat, it's like, all right, I'm in full school mode until Thanksgiving or whenever. But before that's like, well, I'm still transitioning out of summer, so it's a really nice way to end the summer, basically. But my favorite part of the trip is just being able to find God in a time of rest, relaxation, and reflection. Now, I know that doesn't sound fun, but you can't knock it until you've tried it. You've really just got to experience that. And just try to look for it, like especially on that trip, but in all youth trips, but especially on the beach and mountain retreats in the fall. My other favorite part of beach retreats and mountain retreats is hanging out with friends and making memories. My 10th grade beach retreat, which was the second one, which was the one right after Miami, It's not confusing. My friends had some drama going on within our friend group, and so I just had to take a break, and I ended up going to the clubhouse with Zach and listening to the UNC football game with in the beach house, because I was just done with everything, and that was one thing we could connect on, and I still haven't forgotten that to this day. That's still one of the greatest memories that I still cherish to this day. And so I guess the next thing is I ended up going to pilgrimage last year because I wanted to spend more time with my friends, and there really wasn't another reason, just that. But once I went there, it was pretty insane. So P19, Pilgrimage 19, was my first ever pilgrimage, and sadly my last as a youth because I can't go after a senior, but oh well, such is life, I guess. I didn't really go any other year because Zach wasn't into it, so I really wasn't either. And I also thought that watching the Rocket League Championship Series World Championships and or doing concessions were more fun, but there's going to be more on this in a minute. I decided to give it a try this year for reasons like I said. I wanted to hang out with my friends more, being it my senior year, and I knew I wouldn't be able to hang out with them as much next year. But I ended up falling in love with it after the first session. The first night in our hotel room after that session, I just remember talking to Jack and Gray, who were my roommates for the night, and just being able to sing and feeling the Holy Spirit and just knowing that nothing is better than this. Nothing is better than hanging out with so many other people praising and worshiping God. It was awesome. And this is another one of my strong regrets about high school, is not going to any other pilgrimage except last year, the only one that I'll ever get to go to. So if you've never been to pilgrimage, you have to try it. I don't go through youth without trying pilgrimage, because it is one of the best experiences ever. So I said we'd come back to concessions, and here we are. No, Brad did not ask me to plug this for him, although I'm sure he could have, because I would have done it for him. But he didn't ask me. I genuinely enjoy it, as I enjoy serving and helping other people. I also have many fun memories of working with Zach and feeling like we were the best team in the arena, including the players on the court, just because we were efficiently making Chick-fil-A boxes. Concessions allows you to meet, talk to, work with, and get to know other youth and adults in the church. It's a really great way to just talk to people, create those connections, and get to know the other people who you're working alongside with, and also people that you can see around the church and say hi to. I remember there was one time, I think either last year or the year before, I was working register with some of the adults, and of the some of the youth were there, and I just remember we had so many inside jokes together, even though we only worked together for like a few hours that night, and it was just crazy. It was crazy how much fun it was to be checking people out when it was really busy, but then when it wasn't, being able to make jokes and hang out with them. I enjoy it so much. I'm even considering coming back to volunteer next year if the youth needs help, or if we're even allowed to do that. Since I'll be at UNC, like I said, and I have enjoyed it a lot over the last 6 to 7 years that I've done it. So if I'm considering coming back to do it, you should definitely give it a shot, because if it's that much fun for me, hopefully you can find the fun in it too. So this brings me to the last big section of this, which is my How to Survive and Thrive in Youth Group guide. These are my 5 final things that you should write down, and it comes from tips that I've picked up along the way in my 7 years. So these are really important, so definitely write these down. If you don't listen to anything else that I say, listen to these 5 things. The first one is trust the adults. I'm not going to say they're always right, but they're typically about 99.99% correct. And that other 0.01%, well, that's so rare you might not even see it. They're always looking out for your best interests, so don't be afraid to go to them if you need help or if something is wrong. They'll always be there to support you and make you feel at home, but they deserve your respect. And while you're at it, treat your friends and the other youth with respect too. Try to be accepting of everyone no matter your differences, because this will make youth group a much happier and better place to be overall. My second point is try everything. Just like the song from Zootopia, which is a good movie, by the way, if you haven't seen it. So much of life is about stepping out of your comfort zone, and that applies here as well, in youth group. By trying new things, you're opening up new ways for God to work in your life. If you aren't sure if something will be fun, get a few friends together and try it. Or if you can't do that, find a couple people that you're somewhat familiar with and get to know them better on the trip. This is what I did during the Miami mission trip in 2017, and I met my best friends to this day, so it's definitely worth it. All right, point number 3. This is a big one, so get ready. The games at the beginning of youth group are not the Olympics, the World Cup, the World Series, the Stanley Cup, or the NBA Finals as much as you think they are. They're meant to be fun, not super competitive. A little good-natured competition is good, but at the end of the day, it doesn't really matter who wins. Plus, you'll probably forget the result by the next youth group anyways, so don't worry about it. It's okay if your team didn't perform the best. Don't get mad. Just enjoy the game, enjoy the fun, and then that actually brings me to my next point pretty well. Pay attention during the lesson. I know it may be hard to keep your eye off of the score of the late football games in the fall. I know it was for me. Those pesky West Coast games that are always competitive, it seems like. But Brad puts a lot of effort into each lesson every week, so pay attention. He wants us thinking about certain aspects of our lives. The most impactful lesson for me was one that Brad gave on October 15th, 2017. I did have to check my text to find that one, but that's how good it was. I texted my friends about it. A couple of my friends from Miami, which was the prior summer, we were going through a rough patch, and Brad's lesson that week happened to be about friendships. It was as if Brad had written that lesson specifically for me, and that probably means that God had something to do with it. Speaking of God, it is possible for him to talk to you through Brad's lessons, so pay attention and listen because you never know when it might be targeted at you. This also goes for the Sunday sermons if you don't do that already, so pay attention to them too, because Brad has good information targeted for youth, but the pastors, including Adam, Corey, Brad, and whoever else is giving the message, they also have good information, not just for the adults, but for everybody. All right, my last point. I know this is cliche, but have fun. If you didn't have fun at youth, then you wouldn't want to come back. So Brad works really hard to make sure that everyone wants to come to youth and feels welcome there, so enjoy it. If you strongly dislike something or want to see a change made, then talk to Brad, because he is looking out for your best interests, for all of our interests at that point. And, if something isn't as good as you think it could be, or if something isn't good, period, let him know, because chances are he's going to want to change it because other youth are probably feeling that same way. Another thing you can do is you can join youth council if you want your opinion to be heard and vote to count on events that the youth group does, or just anything about youth group really. So if you need more information on this, talk to Brad. I don't know what the plan is for the fall, but I'm going to be in college, so I can't do it anyways. Although I might come back and hang out, we'll see. I'll be the new Duncan of youth group. Well, I think that is it. Those are my 7 points. I want to give a special shout out to Brad for 7 amazing years. We were my class is the first class that Brad's taught all the way through. So Brad's been at church for 7 years. We've been in youth for 7 years, and it's been a great 7 years. I know this is probably bordering on the long for this video, but I appreciate you all for listening to the end. And I will see you guys around next year when since I'll be at UNC, and hopefully you'll see me on Sundays, either at church or in the tech booth, or who knows. Who knows what the fall is going to look like, but I'll see you guys around. All right, see you guys later.